We're working these last couple of weeks with reading strategies. Last week we looked at inferring character through things that the character was saying and things that the character was doing, and we used some primary examples. Today we have a guest speaker, Kathy McNeese. Kathy is from Maryland, teaches 8th grade. She will now show us how to take what we looked at last week, which was very simply positive or negative traits, and now bump it up so we can work with our upper elementary and middle schoolers. Welcome, Kathy.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, show us now your next step from taking very simply positive and negative and making them more detailed.
Well, we start with this chart, and now we title the chart, How to Draw Conclusions and Make Assumptions About Characters. And so we started with a short story, and we discussed all the ways that authors tell us about a character. Shows us what the character does, what characters say about each other, the character's thoughts, conversations and interactions, and the narrator's point of view.
So I'm going to stop you for a moment. All these things that we just looked at, the author does not explicitly state.
That's right. They have to infer.
They have to infer the character trait based on what he did, what he said.
Right.
Okay.
And then finally, the readers take what they already know and their experiences, and they make further inferences about the characters.
Okay. So now, what is different between this and what you have there?
Well, as the students read, instead of taking the smiles and the frowns,
Okay.
they take their Post-its and they write on the Post-its as they read. And so as they read and they see something about the character, they make an inference and they write it on the Post-it.
So I'm going to pull one of these off just for a moment and try to pull one off. Thank you. So here's the difference between a younger and an older. A younger is just saying positive, negative. An older is getting much more detailed and actually doing some writing on the Post-it.
That's right.
Gotcha.
When they finish the story, they then take all their Post-its out of the book,
Okay.
and then they classify them. How did they make these inferences? Did they make the inference based on what the character does?
Okay.
Did they make the inference based on the thoughts or based on interactions? And then they place them next to those very lines on their organizer.
And everybody has a download this week, which is exactly what Kat's holding up. And it's also this poster. So we went from this to, it's the same foundation that they're marking and posting based on what the character said, what he did, his thoughts. And the next step is to then take your Post-its and categorize them.
That's right. Now, what's nice about this at the upper elementary and middle school level is you can stop here and you can have conversations, small group or whole group, but then you can also require them to take this one step further and do a writing with it. And so that's what we did in this instance. We wrote a paragraph. We made assumptions about the character's traits based on the Post-its that they made.
Got it. So this is full of textual support.
Yes.
Which is what we need. Now, I see a lot of checks all over the paper. Tell me what the checks are.
Every time I see a character trait or a valid point based on textual support, I'll put a check there. So the students can see exactly where they have made a valid assumption about the character based on their textual support.
So you can look at that very quickly and say, okay, I see a lot of checks, so that there are a lot of textual support pieces in that paper.
Yes.
Very good.
And when the student gets it back, if there's a section without a check, then they need to go back and say, well, did I use my textual support in order to make that point?
I understand. Thank you for spending some time with us, Kat.
Thank you for having me.
And look at the difference again between very basically starting with inferencing and then taking it to a much higher level. Thank you.